You can see me. All right. Let me move a few things closer. Let me turn on my light. Maybe that will help too. All right. Welcome, welcome. Let's see. I am a Sacred Woman Practitioner Tatami, the Sacred Bruja, and I am bringing us together today to learn a little bit about waist training with a belly binding wrap, the traditional cloth ones. But what we're doing is not at all traditional. It's not endorsed by the ancestors. It's not, I don't know, I'm sure there are people who belly bound for vain reasons in the history of belly binding, but they're not really written about. So this technique that we're doing is actually not for postpartum at all. So it's like opposite of what belly binding is usually for. Usually it's for the first, preferably 90 days after giving birth. The womb is bound up for multitude of reasons, for health and for general wellness, spiritual wellness, all sorts of good things. So this, what we're doing, however, binding your stomach with the hopes of, oh, we're slipping down. I had to move us last second, so let's see if we can stay put. Okay, so this technique that we're going to be using is not at all, traditional. It's just something that modern women have started doing with these. And the reason I prefer to use the traditional cloth is because it's breathable. I think it's prettier than the waist trainers, and also it's like customizable. So usually with waist trainers you're trying to like do exactly the hourglass figure regardless of where your body is now. Anybody, pear-shaped, hourglass figure, apple shape, everybody's got the same waist trainer, and not everybody's body is the same. So a lot of people find that it rolls up a lot more when they just use a regular waist trainer because it's just not really meant for their body type, or they're not at that point yet, or they're probably never going to be there because their body is just probably not going to ever be an hourglass figure, which is okay. So when you use this, you're able to go tighter on the spaces that you like to go tighter on, looser on the spaces you go looser on. When you do waist training, it's important to remember that you should always follow your body, listen to your body. You're not trying to get overnight results, right? Like once you start getting to the point where you can like waist train and see results like for that evening at a party, like you've already been doing it for a little while. So you're not going to just do this and expect, immediate results, especially because it's not like you just had a baby, right? You shouldn't be doing this until you're a year postpartum. And you just make sure you're always listening to yourself. You're always following your body's needs. Okay, so to do this, there are two things that I use. I have, let's see, this one's all folded up and pretty. I have a belly binding wrap. This one is 21 feet long. It's important to have it be long because you want it to be able to be bound as many times as possible in this area. You're trying to go very tight, and you're trying to, go all the way around your body. You're bringing it in with each wrap around your body. You're bringing it in. So the worst part possible would be to not be able to cover your whole abdomen, right? You wouldn't want to just stop right here and not be able to get the full effect that you're looking for, which, I mean, even if you're not trying to be bound up really tight at the rib cage, it's still, I think, important to, have the full coverage when you're doing belly binding. Okay, and then this is kind of hard to see. This is a piece of cardboard, actually, the shape of my body, and I put duct tape over it and masking tape, I guess, over the top of that. So it's kind of hard, it doesn't bend. And I use this is put right here on the stomach area that helps to push it all in while belly binding, right? Well, while waist training, I guess I should say. So essentially, let me see if I can adjust this so you're seeing my womb area. So When you're doing this, also remember that you will pretty much always, with this especially, you should have like a cloth between your skin and the belly binder, because when you're doing it really tight, your skin could get caught, up inside of the little knots that you're doing, and that just would not feel pleasant. Especially if you're like me and you've got like sagging mommy tummy, you're just going to want to avoid that trauma. So, but this is perfect to wear with pretty much anything. I've never had someone in public be like, hey, what are you wearing? Is that, it goes with everything I wear. I have, this dark one and my colorful one, and they both never had anyone question me. So they're really pretty on top of that. So same as when you're belly binding for postpartum, you will bring your wrap all the way down to your womb area. Actually, I'm wearing black, so I'm going to go ahead and help you guys out. So you bring it all the way to your womb area, and you're biting the other end, and we're going to take it around our body. So this should be as flat as possible. You can see it's really flat, as flat as I can. Every time you go around, you should be trying to make this super flat, because it's the flatness creating the layers, tight layers of this flat knit fabric going around your stomach, that's going to help it all be brought in, right? So there's a couple ways you can do this. The first way, let me make this a little longer. And this is very simple. You will just wrap all the way around your body. So, oh, and to get to this point, I just twisted the fabric. This was up. I bring it over, under, and back up. And I just have one little, it's like a knot, but not really tied. It's just twisted. So I'm going to go all the way around my body again. And I would layer heavily and go all the way up as tight as I can. And this way I think is very effective, especially when you don't have a lot of time to get it perfectly, but you still want to do this. I would take my board, and usually with this, actually, I prefer to come up from the bottom, because one of the key things that you're trying to avoid is making your womb feel like pushed down. That's the exact opposite of what you would want in this, if you have a womb while you're doing this. So you want it to feel like it's more pushed up, so I would put it up under. Right, and then I would continue with it really tight. Adjusting this as I go. And so this thing, when you're measuring to make yours out of cardboard, you want to make sure that it doesn't, it's like the perfect size. Practice sitting down with it a few times. Make sure it's not too big, or obviously when you're sitting with this, it's not going to be possible. It's just it's going to hurt. So when you're doing this type of waist training, obviously you should not only be waist training, you should be eating better, drinking more water. When you're doing this type of exercise, or when you're trying to exercise while doing this, especially if you're trying to heal from like diastasis first, I would suggest doing things like yoga, laying on your back and doing the leg lifts, or well, actually don't start with that if you have diastasis. If you have diastasis, lay on your back and start with just lifting your head, doing that. Lift your head, then go up to lifting your shoulders, pushing your abs in using this or using your hands, and just start with that. Or when you're doing this, I wouldn't suggest doing like hardcore exercise with it, but if you do hardcore exercise, then you waist train. So you see I'm like starting to really cover it, so I would want to start pulling even tighter. going up and down. I should be breathing in. Right, this is a little different than when you're just belly binding. You're trying to intentionally be tighter. And even then, it's not very tight because I was talking this whole time. But it's pretty tight. But I would try to get it a little tighter. When you're doing this, when you're first starting, I wouldn't do it for very long, very tight. Just start with like a 30 minutes, then move it up to like, oh, I did it for like a couple hours. When you're first starting also, like you may come to realize, if you haven't been doing it already, you weren't just belly binding before and now you're trying to waist train with it, you'll realize that it's kind of a learning curve to do this next one I'm going to show you, which is my preferred method because I feel like you can go really tight. So this one I'm going to show you is called Bangkang. You'll see this word used all the time to be this for the postpartum belly binding, but it's actually funny, like when you look on the hashtags people use, the people who are using the word Bangkang are usually white ladies. The people of like Malaysia, of Thailand, of all these other places where the practice, this particular knotting came from, don't use the word Bangkang for that postpartum practice usually. They use it for just waist training. Like to them, that's like what that word means. So I thought that was pretty funny that that's essentially what we're doing, is just bringing the waist in. So you're going to do it, I was showing you before. You start it, normally let's see. So I have it up here, I have it around from like my nose down to my womb, brought it around my body, it's flat. I bring the short one over and then put it under. I tighten it, like I like to pull it real tight right here just to get the foundation good. Bring it back up and do it again. Go back around, keep it as flat as possible, open it as flat as possible to go around, and we'll pinch it when it comes back to the middle. Alright, once it's back in the middle, we're going to pull again. We start with pulling here, twist it under, and pull again. And I breathe out when I do it so that I get it extra tight. This part is learned. You know, you just have to get in the habit of learning how to do it tight. And you make sure that your womb feels like it's pulled up. Your stomach is pulled up and in. You're breathing out each time. You're going tight where you prefer it to be tight. We bring it back around. Short one goes over. And then comes back up. And you keep up the process. Now, usually I will remember to put this in before now, but should work out just fine. Put my piece of cardboard in. Alright, and then I can really feel it all pushed in. Alright, you can start to see I have my pattern forming. Under here I have my cardboard, which I adjust. Let me stand in that light so you can see me a little better. There you go. So it's pretty tight. I haven't been binding in a couple days, but it's pretty tight. And so what I also, let's see, so there's other ways that you can do this. Let's say you were doing this and you realize, it's like kind of sloppy, but I don't want to undo all of this and redo it. You can just start going around and around, same way. And this way it's like tighter, right? It's a little tighter than it would have been otherwise if you were just doing this. And you can really pull, work it around. And you can make these yourself. If you have a serger, you get 2 yards of fabric, cut it into 4 strips, and sew those all together, serge the ends. The expensive part of this is the serger, really. If you have one, it makes it a lot easier. Trust me, you do not want to hem with a sewing machine 21 feet of fabric. So, anyways, there you have the first one. Or instead of going around and around like that, and like this one got a lot tighter. And so anyways, I feel like I slack off with this more than I would want to. So I'm going to be doing a challenge with this. So if you have one, or if you're going to buy one, you should definitely join me. I feel like we could all do this together. I won't be alone. So anyways, you can just continue doing it this way. Make sure you push down a little bit so you can keep fitting it onto here, and just make it this same pattern all the way up. This is my preferred way, just I feel like you can get a really good wrap and it feels super comfortable. And so what do you do when you're like this? Once you're all wrapped up, what can you do? You can do housework. You can just chill around your house. You can sit up nice and tall while you're watching your TV game or TV shows, whatever. You know, all those competition game shows. While you're watching them, while you're watching Love and Hip Hop, while you're doing all those things, while you're putting on your makeup, all those fun things, you could be bound up. Why does that help? It's because it's helping your posture, right? When you're bound up like this, especially, that's what the board is for. It's for helping with your posture, especially, because sometimes even, like, it's that American in us. It's that American. I'm telling you, we have terrible posture, and it's like ingrained in our brains, and it's super hard. It's a super hard habit to break. Even when you're all bound up without the cardboard, you'll find that you are like still somehow slouched over. While all bound up, you're still somehow doing that. But it's like impossible once you put a little piece of cardboard with the duct tape nice and strong in there. You find yourself automatically brought up. That helps with your posture, helps with your abs. It makes you look a bunch times skinnier. It makes you look a lot better, more powerful when you're walking in a room, when you're commanding all that attention. It's from having your shoulders back. It's from having your body brought up. It's just a different energy. It's a different energy. So anyways, that helps. This helps with that immensely. It helps with, I would say, once you start getting to this certain level of tightness, it helps with appetite suppression. If you decide to eat your meals with this on, you'll find you eat a little bit less. You'll find and so then you need to focus on eating the right things for the stuff that you do eat, right? You need to make sure you're eating really healthy, nutritious smoothies, lots of greens. So you need to be a little more conscious. This also, I think this is better for, I think spiritual people would really enjoy this method of waist training, because it's like you're taking, it's just a mini ritual. You know what you see me do right there? That's something like I do every day. I'm like used to it. It's time when I spend on my body, like asking it, like, what do you need? Sometimes it's my body's telling me I should. Like, it just feels like my body's like, oh, it would feel really good right now if we just like had that support and like relax into it. And so it's just kind of habit, but it's also like a beautiful ritual where you spend on yourself. It's not just like lay on your back and try and zip something up that smells like latex. Also, this is a lot more breathable, and I think a little better to be layering on your body than latex. So let me think. Once you're in this position, in this situation, you could do very simple yoga, like I said. You can do some hula hooping, if that's what you're into. This is like possible. I've done this before, not recently. Let's see. Oh, let me see. I'm trying not to break my house. Here we go. I'm in a good position. There you go. So like And this is something like, if you, let's say you decided to do this and you realize like, oh, I did that kind of too long, or I did too much yoga, then afterwards take your wrap and go just bind. Like once you've done a hard workout session, you would just go bind yourself up tight and let yourself relax and heal in like a good position. I healed my diastasis doing that, you know, just working out and then making sure my abs were pushed together, making sure I didn't push myself too hard. I did that several times, you know, broke my abs open again. And so, you know, it does take patience is, I think, the hugest key. Listening to your body, like don't mind if it's telling you not to bind. Also, I want to touch on binding at night. Binding at night. People are always like, oh, can I just bind at night? Like, please use your intuition. Like, please do not, like, I know lots of people out there, you know, corset themselves up, guess you have real good, and then they go to sleep. But, like, even those people, you know, like, they have, like, they take their time. You don't just, like, bind all night, like, your first night, like, hope for the best, like, especially if you're not used to breathing, like, all up and pulled in, especially if you're not used to doing all those things. I just really suggest that, you know, you take it slow, and then also do the one that goes around. I think is a better option for at night. That's my advice. But I have bound at night. I bound at night back when it like hurt, like, so that I felt like my abs needed the help at night. And then I've also bound just to look better before just bound. So anyways, those are my things. I didn't see any questions. Do you have any questions about this? About this process? Anybody? No? Let me check. I don't think you guys said anything that I saw. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that was like all I had really. You can... I was going to say I'll be checking in with everyone. We're going to be doing the Womb Movement Wednesdays for the Sister Circle here on this YouTube channel every Wednesday. So I'm usually going to be bound up for that, or like I'll either start with being bound up during that video, or I'll end the session with showing a quick belly binding wrap and doing that with you guys for at least, you know, a little while we do the like 30-day belly binding challenge. And that is just going to be to bind a little bit every day and build up, you know, the ability and get better at wrapping, which a lot of people, you know, find that that's one of the hardest parts. So yeah, anyways, thank you for joining me. If you're interested, check out patreon.com/Sacred Sister Circle and join us Hoodoo Sacred Sisters on our journey every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, Black people time.